And for martial law, we need to tell you that this radio program is intended for informational purposes only. The information does not constitute legal advice. The law is constantly changing. The information may not be complete or correct depending on the date and your particular legal problem. Each legal problem depends on its individual facts. Different jurisdictions have different laws and regulations, and because of that, you should not act or rely on any information in this segment without seeking the advice of a competent attorney licensed to practice law in your jurisdiction for your particular problem. In this case, it is Marshall Chriswell who joins us this morning on the line. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Todd.
Hoping you had a wonderful Easter.
You as well. We did.
Terrific. All right. I want to talk about something that, the lines get blurred a lot when it comes to practically any aspect of society and what people do for a living. Let's talk about notary publics and what notary publics can and cannot do in relation to the law, because there might be a little bit of a blurred line there.
Yeah, there absolutely is. It's interesting. The Pennsylvania Bar Association, the American Bar Association, they've actually put together committees on the unauthorized practice of law, and which is a crime. And one of the major issues that they face is that you have unauthorized practice of law from lots of different professionals, but in particular, notary publics have become a concern because there are some, and I'm not disparaging all notary publics. My non-attorney staff here in my office are all notaries, and there are many fine notaries in our community, but there are many notaries that overstep the bounds of what their role is and what they're permitted to do, and it can really have negative effects on the people that they're trying to help.
It just doesn't seem like that would be a natural progression to say, I'm a notary public, therefore I want to practice law. How is it that they get involved and maybe step over a line?
Sure. Well, I think a lot of it is well-intentioned, but folks, and I have folks that come into my office and say, well, I'm having an issue. I've got a contract with someone. We have an agreement, or maybe it's a child custody agreement or a contract to sell real estate. And they say, well, I've got this contract and it's ironclad, and they lay down their handwritten page and they say, yep, and we even got it notarized, so it's official. And I say, well, yeah, that's great. You got it notarized, but that doesn't lend any additional credence, or doesn't raise this document to the level of being a valid legal contract or other type of legal document. So I think that's where the impression that because a notary has a stamp and has a seal and makes a document appear to be more official, that it actually lends some legal credence to the document, and it doesn't. A notary's function is, at its heart, is to identify, is to confirm and verify the identity of the person that's signing the document. Right? Mm-hmm. The notary is, and they're trained to do this. They have some education. They're required to take a class and things, but they can look at someone's identification, make sure that it matches up with who's signing. They also can give someone an oath saying, okay, is everything that you're saying in this document, is everything in here accurate? So they can do those basic things when it comes to confirming the identity and the intent of the person who's signing. But anything that goes above and beyond that is the unauthorized practice of law.
So basically, they are a witness to an event, and just assume they are assuring that the signers to this event are actually who they say that they are.
And that they were present at the time the document was signed.
Well,
yes.
that being the case, is it quite often a case that people misconstrue what the notary is all about, and then the notary might not even be involved in what is legal and what is not legal, just they do their function, and then this person takes the document away and figures, okay, now I've got the force of law behind me, and therefore it's more on them.
Well, there's that, right? Like I said, the person who thinks, "Wow, I got this stamped by a notary, and now this is a valid contract or whatever." But then you have notaries that will, somebody comes to them and says, "Well, you see these kinds of documents all the time. Could you help me by preparing a deed for my property, or a will? Could you help me and write my will?" And you have some notaries that are doing this, and some that have actually made a business of it. And this is where where the concern arises. And just recently I had a document that I was a deed that I suspect was prepared by the notary. And it actually resulted because of the way that the deed was drafted, the way that the grantees in the deed, it was a joint ownership situation, and the way that was laid out, it was done improperly. And it almost, I was able to get the issue resolved, but it almost cost my client several $1,000s in inheritance tax whenever one of the joint owners passed away and their ownership interest vested in the other owners. The way that it was written, it could have been written that it would have totally avoided inheritance tax, but the way it was written, it was very, very vague. And I was able to get it taken care of. But for a moment there, it looked like my client was going to be on the hook for about $2,000 inheritance tax because of a very simple mistake that was made by a non-lawyer drafting this deed.
Yeah, now Yauchi is what you say in that case.
Right.
But again, it points out that you really have to know who you're doing business with and what the function of that is, and therefore the attorney is the attorney in this case.
That's right, and a notary or even a paralegal or any other person. Sometimes you have investment advisors, accountants. I've reviewed trust documents and wills that were all prepared by an investment advisor in financial advisor in the course of selling someone annuities or other investments, and they say, "Oh, well, I can also do your estate planning work." No, you can't. And so I see that more often than you would think.
Now, when you say obviously the force of law is behind this, what are some of the penalties that can be incurred by people who falsely practice law?
Yeah, it is a crime. They can be pursued. It can rise to the level of being a felony. And lawyers is sometimes lawyers that practice law outside of their jurisdiction get hit for this too. And so fines and imprisonment are on the table. And obviously, if you're a lawyer or notary, losing your license, to do your job is one of the first things that could happen. And so, it's a big deal. Like I said, lawyers, if you have a lawyer who is licensed in another state, licensed in Maryland, they can't come in and represent you in court in Pennsylvania. And they really shouldn't be providing, drafting documents pursuant to Pennsylvania law and things, if they're not licensed here. So, even lawyers get in trouble for the unauthorized practice of law sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then hence those disclaimers that come at the end of some of those national commercials that come onto the market here in Pennsylvania. But obviously, the role of the notary or whoever it is that is practicing law falsely is one thing. The damage that they can do to somebody, though, that's what you're most concerned with. You don't want to be in the situation where you have to pull somebody out of the fire because they got some bad legal advice or bad representation by somebody who really shouldn't be representing in the first place.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, people can get themselves into enough legal trouble on their own, and without having someone who is whether it's they're unscrupulous or whether they're just crossing the line in an attempt to be helpful. You don't need people out there that someone is looking to as a professional who they trust, leading someone down a path that's going to cause them big problems later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of those disadvantages that they will run up against, as you said, certainly those tax implications, this being tax day all across our nation today, tax implications are one of the major problems that somebody could run into.
Sure. You need when you're having any kind of legal work done, or you're signing any kind of legal document, that's something that needs to be thought about, right? As an attorney, I'm trained to identify those issues and offer my input and advice, and also to know when it's time to say, hey, you need to get with your CPA or your tax preparer and see how this is going to impact you. If you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. We're with Marshall Chriswell this morning. The segment is called Martial Law. We're talking about notaries or others who represent themselves as having the ability or the legal right to practice law. And obviously you want to be involved with an attorney who's going to know the law, number one, but B, know the best course of action and plan for you. And the more information you have at your disposal, the better. And obviously your education comes into that and your experience as well. So for folks who want to get involved with an attorney and make sure that their notary or somebody else hasn't led them down the wrong path, what should they do?
You can always call me at 724-465-5826. Come see us in the old RMP building at 655 Church Street in Indiana. Go online to www.westernpalawyer.com. And before I let you go, Todd, I just wanted to thank the viewers there, and Renda. I saw that my office was nominated in several of the categories on your Best of Indiana County contest that you're having, and I thought that's a real honor to be nominated by the folks that I'm working with and serving every day. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I wanted to thank Renda for doing that.
You don't get a little Oscar statue for that, if you win.
No? Come on. No hardware.
Just let you know.
Okay.
Marshall, thanks so much for being with us today.
All right. Thanks a lot. Take care.
You too.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
You too.